Sabaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrindaki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Gaura Dhamanaki Vrindavan Dhamanaki Mahapurnavadri Dhamanaki Jagannath Puri Dhamanaki Gangamayaki Jamunamayaki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glorious to the Son Glorious. Oh, glorious to the Son Glorious. Oh, glorious to the Son Glorious. Oh, glorious to Sri Guru and Sri Guru. Mr. Sri Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 7, text number 41 and 42. 41 is on the board. Save Vedascha Jagyascha
Save Vedascha Yagyascha
Tapodhanani Chanagaha
Tapodhanani Chanagaha
Jivabhaya Pradhanasya
Jivabhaya Pradhanasya
Nakuviram Kalam Api
Nakuviram Kalamapi
Sarve Vedascha Jagyascha
Save Vedascha Yagyascha
Tapodhanani Chanagaha
Tapodhanani Chanagaha
Jivabhaya Prati Jivabhaya Pradhanasya
Jivabhaya Pradhanasya
Nakuviram Kalam Api
Nakuviram Kalamapi
Sarve Vedascha Jagyascha
Save Vedascha Yagyascha
Tapodhanani Chanagaha
Tapodhanani Chanagaha
Jivabhaya Pradhanasya
Jivabhaya Pradhanasya
Nakuviram Kalam Api
Nakuviram Kalamapi
Sarve
Save
all kinds of Vedaha
Vedama
divisions of the Vedas Cha
Cha
also Jagya
Yagya
sacrifice Cha also Tapaha
Tapa
penances Dhanani
Nani
charities Cha
Cha
and Anaga
Anaga
O spotless one Jiva
Jiva
the living entity Abhaya
Abhaya
immunity from material pains Pradhanasya
Pradhanasya
of one who gives such assurance not Kurviran
Purviram
can be equalized Kalam
Tavanam
even partially Api
Api
certainly translation purple O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, penances, etc. The highest perfectional work of charity is to give people in general immunity from the anxieties of material existence. This can be done only by performing activities in devotional service to the Lord. Such knowledge is incomparable. Cultivation of the knowledge in the Vedas, performance of sacrifice, and distribution of munificent charities altogether cannot form even a part of the immunity from the pains of material existence that is gained from devotional service. The charity of Maitreya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. The spiritual master forced my eyes open with the false light of transcendental knowledge. Therefore, I have spiritual basis in me. We're returning to the further inquiries by the Guru. After I believe there was a series of classes, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gundicha Mahajan, and Mathyandra. So there was a long list of questions, 40 different questions that Vidura posed to Maitreya. And this is a conclusion where Vidura expresses his confidence in Maitreya, that he's qualified to do a good job with all those questions. Of course, we're talking about two very exalted sages discussing. This is where Krishna becomes present. Wherever the devotees are discussing Krishna, and Krishna is manifest. Natistani where Radhamuni says Krishna is made to say that he's not present in the Vaikuntha planets, he's not present in other places, but where the devotees are discussing his pastimes, then Krishna, he manifests. And we'll just read the next verse because that gives a little glimpse into that understanding. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, "Thus the chief of the sages, who was always enthusiastic about describing topics regarding the personality of Godhead, began to narrate the descriptive explanation of the Puranas, being so infused by Vidura. He was very much enlightened by speaking on the transcendental activities of the Lord." Report. Great learned sages like Maitreya Muni are always very enthusiastic about describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. Maitreya Muni, being thus invited by Vidura to speak, appeared to be smiling because he actually felt transcendental bliss. This is Sukadeva Goswami summarizing and preparing us for entering on further into the Bhagavatam. He's putting the final, the cream, the icing on the cake, describing what's actually happening between these two great personalities. They've come together, they've met, met by providence, and now they're going to enter into some very amazing discussions which will lead throughout the whole Bhagavatam. The questions here are answered throughout the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. It's quite a foundational idea. In this particular purport by Srila Prabhupada, he's making some very, not sweeping statements, but very profound statements about the value of different aspects of devotional service. The first thing he highlights is in the translation, "O spotless one." Spotless one. This is a theme which has appeared a couple of verses earlier. Devotee is addressed as Suri Anagaha. Suri is Suris are great scholars, but they may not always be Anagaha or spotless. The Anagaha Suri is one who is a pure devotee of the Lord. Anagaha Suri. Anagaha Suri. Anaga means spotless, sinless. And Prabhupada he elaborates more on that purport how there are devotees and they can be absorbed in Krishna, but they can have some taints. They're not spotless. Spotless example is like the moon. You can see that the moon is giving wonderful light, but if you look closely, there's spots. There's spots on the moon. So still, a devotee can give that quality of association, that quality of upliftment. Then when you find a spotless, pure, unalloyed devotee, then that's even more effective. The most effective. Prabhupada, when he would speak, "You're not this body. You're not American, you're not European, you're not strike the devotees within the heart. It's a very profound statement. It is considered one of the most confidential knowledge topics from the Vedas. And when spoken by a spotless devotee, then it really penetrates. Prabhupada says it every lecture practically, over and over again. And many people say, okay, well I've got that, but do you act like you're not the body? Do you act as a spirit soul? Do you act on a different level? So that's the effect of the association of these pure spotless devotees. One class just recently was discussing the need to get a spiritual master. And then there's also a discussion about the different qualities of spiritual masters, different qualities of pure devotees. And sometimes it's overlapping and it's confusing. There's the Uttama Adhikari. There's here we have the Suri Anaga. There's the Jagat Guru. There's the pure devotee. And then there's a pure unalloyed devotee. They're all varying degrees. There's devotee, as I was saying in the previous class, different acharyas have stated that a devotee can be considered one who's started on the path, who's just a beginner. They're connected with Krishna. They have some awareness of Krishna. And another definition of a devotee is it's Srimati Radharani. She's the reservoir of devotional service. She's the topmost devotee. And we are, because even her name means one who renders service. So here, this term, spotless one, the spotless one has appeared for a second time. I believe it was translated in a previous verse. Spotless devotees of the Lord, the spotless one. So it's a special situation. The attractive nature of a pure devotee is such that they're effulgent, and when you just become aware of their presence, you're drawn to them. Many devotees, they heard about Srila Prabhupada, they started to follow Srila Prabhupada, they started to engage in service. And I read once, or just recently, that one devotee, they were determined, the first time they saw Srila Prabhupada, they would absorb as much as possible. It's not that we see spirit with our eyes, the main way is to hear. But even the energy emanating from Srila Prabhupada, he came off the airplane, the devotee was determined to, but he couldn't help himself, he just felt impelled just to pay obeisances, to bow down to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada then, he walked past and he stopped and he recognised that devotee and then acknowledged and appreciated that the devotee was that determined to take shelter. There's a dynamic relationship between the devotees and the spiritual master. How to get the benefit of the association with the spiritual master. Just first come in contact with one, hear their instructions, endeavour to put their instructions into practice, surrender to the spiritual master, and get the blessings of the spiritual master. That verse from the Guru Vastuman prayers. Yasya Prashada Bhagavat Prashada. Without the mercy of the spiritual master, one cannot make any spiritual advancement. If you get the grace of the spiritual master, then that's the goal of life. So some of these statements that Srila Prabhupada has made describing the nature of these, what would you call them? Elements of devotional service, elements of spiritual practice. Charity, penance, tapasya, yajna, sacrifice. These things should never be given up. To put them into their proper perspective. Hari Suri, he was the GBC here at one stage, and in one of his classes he mentioned he was asked by a person on the street, "Can you give me some charity?" His response was, "Well, I only give to one charity, It's Krishna. It's like that's the goal of the devotees. They just want Krishna to be who they think about, who they talk about, who they work for, who they follow, who they're absorbed in. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And Prabhupada once, he was given a question, how would you define a pure devotee? And he stated, the one who was 24 hours a day thinking of serving and absorbed in how to be connected with Krishna. That's a pure devotee. So, if we're 24 hours a day, if we're eating, sleeping, and everything we're doing for the pleasure of Krishna, we're doing as service to Krishna, then we consider to be a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada in the early days, he was asked, how many pure devotees are in the movement? At that stage there was about 75 devotees. And he said, how many devotees are here? And the devotee answered, 75. And Prabhupada said, okay, there's 75 pure devotees involved in this movement. And then of course we're connected to the Guru Parampara, all the previous acharyas, and they are lending their support. We have access to them. They're very pleased by this endeavour to spread the glories of Lord Chaitanya. So, there was a question the other day about how to assess what to do with how to engage in charity. Charity. Who knows what are the items that one can give in charity? It's in Sanskrit it's vacha, prana, artha, and the yellow. There are 4 elements to charity. Rupa, have you got one?
I'm sure I have one.
You got any of them? You tell us one.
Words, wealth, life,
intelligence.
Diya.
Intelligence. So these are the things we have access to. If somebody comes to our house, that's the principle of Atiti Bhagavan, a guest, an unexpected guest comes. So then, in an uncouth, uncivilized manner, you can greet them at the door with a shotgun, you can slam the door in their face, you can just ignore them. But that's not civilized. We were travelling in Texas from farm to farm, and we got greeted at one door by a person behind the screen with a shotgun, and he marched us off pretty quickly. So we were a bit more cautious as we were going around that area. But the other day I had a charity collector. He came to the front door during the day. There's not many people who knock on your door during the day, except for salespeople. And I recognised his T-shirt that said Amnesty International. He had a badge, Jake. And so already my reserves were up. I'm not going to take much notice of this fellow. But still, applying principles of giving and charity, I had some sweet words. Okay, so what's going on? And he described what he was doing, and before he could get fully on into his spiel, I addressed him as, well, you're trying to sell something, I've got quite an experience with that, and I don't think you're going to have much success here. But still, he carried on, and it was very interesting. He was saying that Amnesty International, that so much percentage of what they collect goes actually to the charity, because their CEO is a mega millionaire, very wealthy person. So he had some good lines, and his manner, his demeanour was very nice. So in order to give him some knowledge, I said, 1 second, I've got some books. He asked me if I'd done some sales. Well, what, books? I said, Yeah, not encyclopedias, but books. So I went to the house and grabbed a couple of books and offered them to him. And we started talking in another area, not so much about his charity. And he liked the books. He said, "I'd go try and come back for them." But then he was determined, very determined. He started going to the sign-up phase of the, and he said, "Well, it's for $1 a day and stuff like this." And at that stage, I had to say, "Well, excuse me, I haven't got enough time. I'll see you another time. Come back for the books." But we offered some nice words. We'd engaged his intelligence, discussed a little bit about other areas of life. He left by saying, "Well, it's a very mystical concept you're presenting. Thank you." And the wealth of knowledge was a much more valuable gift than to sign up for $1 a day. My life, I wasn't going to join the Amnesty International cause, so I was committed to the Krishna consciousness cause. So in certain circumstances, you can apply the principles of giving, but they can be appropriate to the situation. And Krishna consciousness is described here, Prabhupada says, it's the highest perfectional work of charity. Considered to be the topmost welfare work. And then the purport further elaborates on the elements, such knowledge is incomparable, and the ultimate benefits. Distribution of munificent charities, all these different exalted activities, we just get a small glimpse of what they are. To give in charity, some of the great kings, when the need was there, they would just open up their treasuries and they would exhaust their treasuries. And everybody, whether they were fit, whether they were needy, whether they didn't use it properly, they all received the benefit of the charitable distribution of the personality. If you have wealth, then it's part of your responsibility to share it. Generosity. Nowadays, it's difficult to get, it's difficult to hold on to, so therefore it's considered highly valuable, and people don't know how to use it properly. One of the richest men in the world, he was asked many years ago, it was Rockefeller. Just a comparison, Trump, at one stage before he was president, he was asked if he could perform a little bit of austerity, if he could reduce his daily spendings below $400,000 a day. And he had trouble doing that. Rockefeller was asked in his amassing of his great fortunes, "So what do you need? What more do you need?" And he said, "A little more." You get into that field of wealth and it becomes an allurement of its own. The sages describe that gold is naturally glittering and effulgent, and it has some allurement. It's said that ladies should wear gold. Men should wear gold too, just because it helps to curb down one's lust, one's avarice, one's greed. You have gold, then you feel peace, satisfied. But you have to be able to use that gold, or you have to get it. And so the charity of giving knowledge, is far superior than giving wealth. People are saying, okay, there's somebody who's poor, they're helpless, give them some assistance. Because they don't know how to use wealth properly, they will misuse it. Many people who are claiming they're beggars and they need wealth, then you offer them some food and say, no, just give me a couple of bucks. And they'll go and spend it on intoxication, they'll go and do something. So we can offer them some prashadam. Come with me and I'll give you some prashadam. Some of those who are a little bit aware of the value of such a gift, they will take. But many people, they're crooked. It's not that they're bona fide recipients of charity. And certainly they don't know how to use it properly. Knowledge is something that can be given And nowadays, people are proud. They're proud of so many things. They're not willing to listen so much, but still presenting knowledge, presenting the topmost knowledge, even if they don't grasp it immediately. They've heard that knowledge, and in some quiet moment, then they can contemplate. And they can say, I was distributing books once, and handing out, offering people, trying to take, and somehow or other a person caught my attention, and I was inspired to say that you're going to die. The person didn't hear immediately. They walked a little bit further, and then they stopped and came back and said, "Do you know what you just said to me?" And that was the start of a conversation, a discussion. Yeah. So to have the intention to give knowledge, the intention to give something to benefit the conditioned souls. This is the profound giving, profound idea of charity. So you have to have knowledge in order to give it. You have to have knowledge. You have to be able to deal. And then nowadays people are more well read. They're more exposed to a variety of ideas and a variety of topics. So when they are dealing with knowledge, then they will throw up an opinion. Devotees, their parents are Christians. They'll go and stay with them and they'll try and encourage them or convince them what is it you believe in. And then they'll get a question back, well, spirit and soul, they're different. So often, rather than trying to address their confusion, if we have knowledge, if we have a substance or a basis in our teachings, then we can give them a better format on which how they can understand spiritual knowledge. The people who would visit the Polish festival, many of them made the comment that we like you people because you're not trying to shove something down our throat, but you're trying to give us information, you're trying to inform us about the fundamentals of spiritual reality. And we're confident in doing that because we have access to these profound literatures, these great teachers who are giving us a clear conception of who we are, where we're going, and how to achieve the topmost result. So it's amazing, Prabhupada's purport. The charity of Maitreya not only will help with Dura, but due to its universal nature will deliver all others in all times. And then the final couplet is, thus, Maitreya is immortal. And it took me a while to understand, to really grasp the truth and the meaning of that little couplet. Because Maitreya, he's been regarded as a spotless one. He started off in this whole presentation as a Jnana Mishra Bhakta. He's not spotless. But in the overall scheme of dealing with Krishna consciousness and presenting Krishna consciousness, he's been, and the topics he's discussing, has elevated him to the stage of a spotless one, and he is immortal. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote about Haridas Thakur. There's that little poem. He reasons ill that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. The Vaishnavas die to live, and whilst living, spread the holy name around. So the immortality is in the message, is in the presentation, is in the deliverance of these transcendental topics, of these spiritual topics. Srimad Bhagavatam is also regarded as a spotless Purana. So many contaminations, so many distortions, so many aberrations on the truth are there within the material world. The Srimad Bhagavatam is described as the spotless Purana, Amala Purana. And Prabhupada, he described that the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it was his source of nectar when he was travelling on a boat coming across. It was his just reservoir of nectar. And it's described, you can just open up books anywhere and there's some precious gift there waiting for you. Just attentive and just take shelter of one aspect of the teachings, the words. Prabhupada, when he was glorifying distribution of the books, he said if people just touch the book, if they just see one syllable, if they can just take something, one aspect of these literatures, then they get eternal benefit. And thus they become immortal. The teachings are immortal. The interchange between the devotees is on such a level. It's a very profound experience. So this knowledge can grant one immunity from all material miseries. There's a science to that, but it's very practical. Devotional service, the results of devotional service are described by the Goswamis in verse Kleshagni Subhadana Moksha Vagutakrit. Sundarananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Kashani Saha. That the first benefit of devotional service is Klesha Agni. Klesha Agni, one becomes free from the material miseries. Klesha, the different types of suffering, the suffering caused by the body, by the mind, and by the higher living entities, demigods. These are the sufferings which we've always been tormented by. So we can become free from those miseries just by starting devotional service, picking up a little piece of paper and cleaning the courtyard, accepting prasadam, distributing prasadam, being engaged in service. Serving the tongue is the first, it's the beginning of spiritual life. Engaging the tongue in Krishna's service. So all of these things, they have this result, a profound result of grant one immunity from all material miseries. In the beginning stages, then devotional services, it's very shallow, skin deep. It's just its beginning. Underneath there's all of these yucky things which we're still trying to deal with. But devotional service is such a thing that there's no loss or diminution. It just continues. It keeps, and you never lose it. You take it with you in the next life, whatever development or advancement you've made in devotional service. So all of these amazing statements about the interchange between the devotees and the advantages, the benefits of devotional service, these can be understood in the light of Krishna conscious technology, of the teachings of the acharyas. And by discussing them, we read something, we hear something. There's a statement about the Paramahamsa. It's another type of pure devotee, Paramahamsa. The Paramahamsa is based on the term Hamsa, the swan. What is the amazing quality of the swan, the wonders of the swan-like people? So the swan has the ability to extract milk from water. You have water and you put milk in it and the milk disperses. So I was wondering, and it just happened to be some swans in the pond nearby, and we just happened to have some milk which we had to dispose of. So Hamsa, put the milk in the water, and very quickly the swans came, and before the milk could disperse, they extracted the milk from the water. And having a close-up vision, practical knowledge, I could see that their beaks were created in such a way that there were little grooves, and with their beaks taking in the water and the milk mixture, the water was being expelled through the little flutes in the side of their beaks. So they were absorbing, they were extracting the milk. So we read these things, we hear about these things, and we can contemplate them, and we can get direct experience of them, physically, or through realization, or through just putting them into practice. We can actually develop a very close understanding. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Nrsimhadev is the Wrath Supreme. Lord Balaram is supremely powerful, very strong. So we hear these things and we can contemplate. We can connect with those ideas and get a more deeper realization if we're sincere in our attempts to serve Krishna. It's not just theory. It's not bewilderment. It's not, and then we can relate that. We just start talking about things we've heard about Krishna. Krishna can put words in their mouth. We can become transformed to a different level, and those conversations become very memorable. And because of this quality of immortality and the effect of granting immunity from all material miseries. Even just entering into a kirtan, if you're not feeling so inspired, you chant and dance in kirtan. Prabhupada told some of his disciples they were working hard in construction or doing some legal activity, and come back to the temple. He said, don't worry about what's been going on through the day. Take a bath, go to the temple, chant and dance in the kirtan, and you feel relief from the burden of what's just been going on through the day. Because it's such an uplifting experience, such a transcendental realization one can get from engaging in devotional service. Even taking rest. I know Ramaswamy, he was often faced with some obstacle, some difficulty, and he'd try and work it out, and then he said the main solution that he's discovered over many years is you just take rest. Take rest. And after you wake up, and I always said I experienced one exact fact about that. We were driving, and the trailer, the door of the trailer slipped open, and a very valuable amplifier fell out as we were going around one roundabout. We got to the other end, we were supposed to set up, the amplifier was not there. So how are we going to do the program? Where can we get an amplifier at this late time? Trying to make a solution. And then, it's all too much, take rest. And then when Maharaj woke up, he got a phone call, they discovered his amplifier, the police had it at the police station, and he could go and pick it up on the way back. So, following little instructions, having little guides, little helps to inspire us is what Krishna consciousness is all about. If we can memorize so many verses, if we can speak the Bhagavad Gita off by heart, all the better. Many devotees who can do that, but just one syllable, one word, Krishna. Rupa Goswami says, if one realizes how much nectar is there in the syllables Krishna, then he desires millions of years and thousands of tons. And when that sound vibration enters into his heart, then his senses become alert. So Krishna consciousness is there, it's available, we just have to be keen to take it. Getting close to breakfast time. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Thank you for the class. I was just thinking about what you were saying, charity, that we can give sweet words also, and money if we have. I was just thinking about Vaisheshika Prabhu, when he does books, he tells people that when you give something in exchange for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the previous teachers, the acharyas. So I was just also thinking, once I heard one devotee coming, and they say, oh, it's not about the money or something like that. So when I was just reflecting that when we ask for donations because for the temple to cover the cost of things, and I was just reflecting that in the material world nothing is free. Like even you save up, you go on holiday, you have to pay for the food and accommodation. And yet it seems that for spiritual things, everyone sometimes thinks, oh, it's for everyone and there's no rules or regulations. But there's a science. If materially we have to work for something, why is spiritual life so cheap that, oh, you don't have to work for it, you just get it? So I was just reflecting, like even when you come to the temple, if we even give something, our time, our service, or even like for the feast, like just bringing one punnet of blueberries, which is only $2, and you come with your whole family, and then you take prasadam. So at least to give something, then Krishna sees that you're making an effort to give, you're not coming just to take. And it's not about the money. Krishna is seeing the heart, and everyone gives according to their capacity. But this culture of giving is sometimes being lost, because even when I was in Auckland, I saw many Indian guests would come, 20 people sometimes, and they would want prasadam, and they wouldn't give a cent, some of them, or some people would give just $2 or something. So yes, it's not about the money, and temple is for getting knowledge and taking something, but also it just behooves us. It's a cultural thing. When you get something, you need to give back. It's just natural. So I was just reflecting on that.
There's, thank you, there's so many different aspects of charity and our responsibility and our involvement. There was an analogy I once heard about the HG Bhagavatam. Somebody comes to your door, you would like to welcome them in and offer them a whole meal. And it said the traveller comes and you say, give them some kind words, wash their feet, give them a place to rest. It's an exception. It's a rare opportunity that somebody comes and bothers to wake you up from your slumber and knocks on your door. So you should go out of your way to try and help them. If you can't offer them a meal and any of those things, offer them a sitting place and a glass of water, some refreshment. But if you can't do that, then you should pray. You should lament that you're in such a niggardly circumstance. You can't even do that. You can't even properly honour and give something in exchange for this situation that you're in. So it's the culture that's it's been lost, but the culture of respect has also been lost. So for those people who are a little bit more learned, it behooves us to try and educate people. And when we are asking for a donation, it represents somebody's sweat and blood and their energy. In order for them to have something to give, then they have to have endeavoured for it. Some of the big distributors, they were saying that we should not hold back. We should ask people for giving their life, to give everything. And we can ask that, and that people can sense that because we are doing it ourselves, and that's valuable, why not? Why am I living such a nasty, niggardly life? Let me give something. And people who are met by such sincere givers of the truth, then they feel inspired to reciprocate. So it's the purity of the exchange which will help to make it more tasteful, a more prominent part of living in the material world. If you can meet pure-hearted devotees and they can offer you something freely and encourage you to take it up, to take advantage of it properly. In the meantime, we keep trying. We know that we're getting rewarded. If you're doing a fire sacrifice, the Brahmin sets up and he does all the judges and he offers the oblations into the fire, and he knows that he's getting results. He's pleasing Krishna. And if he's doing it on behalf of somebody, they have to give a donation. If they don't give the donation, then they don't get the benefit of that sacrifice. The Brahmana, the priest and the other guests, they keep it. So it's a dynamic of the give and take. You can't take unlimitedly. You have to pay. Living, you have to pay. Nothing is free. So we pay by our words, our intelligence,